Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with reTHINK Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 55. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at reTHINK Coaching. And as always, I just want to say thank you for sharing your time with me. Time is our most valuable gift, and the fact that you share yours with me means a tremendous amount to me. So today, I am just coming off of a really fantastic weekend with great friends in Breckenridge, Colorado. And I just want to give a reminder that sometimes we need to stop and take a break and spend valuable time with people that we care about. The Fredericks have been a huge part of my world since 2009, and them opening up their house to us over this weekend was truly a treat and a refresh. So make sure you're taking care of yourself and that you are planning time away and you're planning it with the people that give you energy versus take energy away from you. And so today I wanted to talk about the emotion of pain or the feeling of pain. And, the title of this podcast is Pain is Good with a couple question marks. And sometimes I think that's a tough thing to state or to acknowledge that pain is actually good. Because as humans, we tend to move away from pain and move towards pleasure. And I'm not talking physical pain like, cutting or, touching something really hot and experiencing those physical kinds of pain. This is more of an emotional or a mental type of pain that can really, really serve you well. Yet we have this compulsion to move away from it as quickly as we can and not even glean any of the lessons that the pain can teach us. And so, some reaction to rejection or failure or frustration, that can be viewed as painful to someone. And they can immediately want to shift and ignore and create more pleasurable things and avoid doing whatever the action was that was going to cause them to maybe feel rejected or maybe feel like they were going to fail or maybe feel that, hey, I know I'm going to do this and I'm going to get extremely frustrated. I was having this conversation with my coach recently, and it really brought to light the fact that we all do it. It's funny, I'm going through some changes in terms of content for group programs, and it's not easy. And there's some frustration, there's some fear, there's some avoidance in there. And we had a great conversation around what are the lessons buried in all of those emotions that you keep putting away and keep putting away. Because here's what we know. If you continue to avoid a painful situation and you try to push it away, it's going to come back. It's going to continue to show up and show up and show up until you have dealt with it. And so I want to talk about that because I say this often, and you maybe have heard me say this on another podcast. If we treat this like a beach ball that we want to hold underwater and avoid it, so we have this feeling of frustration, or we have this feeling of failure, or we have this feeling of rejection, or just, we're moving away from something that's painful, and we just say, hey, I'm going to just push this down and I'm going to go back to doing something that's pleasurable. That beach ball is eventually going to pop out of the water, and it usually smacks you in the face. And that is what's going to happen if you avoid pain. So in my coaching and in my personal world, what I'm realizing is, and this was just being fully transparent, a conversation I had with my coach, is we sat with what the pain was and what I wanted to avoid, because I'm just human as you are. And we sat in it, and the question asked, and this is what I want you to ask yourself, is what lesson is buried in the pain that if you don't allow it to process, you're going to miss? And that was a huge aha moment for me, is that when I dissected the feeling of pain that I was having, mine was fear. And if I dissected that and just said, okay, what is this exactly? Like, fear is the emotion or the painful thing that I'm having right now. What's exactly happening that's creating that fear? And sit with those lessons. Is it, what's it a fear of? What is creating or causing the fear? Is there a thought or a circumstance that's causing the fear? What is causing the fear? And in that fear, so in this fear, if I wanted to turn it into something that motivated or would drive me, what would that look like? And here's what's really important about this. This is not something you should rush. And so I sat with and allowed the pain of fear to be present for 48 hours. I gave it a time limit. And I spent a lot of time just listening to what was going on around what was causing me pain, showing up in the feeling of fear. And I will tell you, some of the most incredible lessons came from that moment. The moment that I didn't try to just push it away and go back to everything's great. The moment I just didn't want to push it away and use the thought flow model and immediately change the thought, which would create a positive emotion. Because you see, what I did quickly was I shoved the negative emotion or the pain away, only to come back and find me later. I was labeling that beach ball. I was shoving it underwater. I was changing my thoughts, which then allowed me to have a really cool feeling, which impacted actions and results. But the truth of the matter is, even though I'm masterful at thought work, I was selling myself short because I wasn't allowing all of that to process. And so if you're like me, and like probably 99.9% of other human beings out there and want to avoid something painful, we tend to do that. Now, here's what I wanted to make really clear about this is I've taught you all the thought flow model, right? Thoughts create feelings, emotions, action. Thoughts create feelings, energy, and emotion, which impact our actions, whether we take them or we take them and we take them in a negative space, and then the results we get or don't get. I've taught you that thought flow model, and I wanted you to get comfortable with the fact that we can alter our thoughts to create a different feeling or emotion. But what we haven't spent time on is exploring the importance of the negative emotion. And I know that may sound strange coming from me because I talk about this all the time. Let's work through this. Let's reframe the thought. Let's neutralize the circumstance. And so now I want to invite you to take it to the next level. And so what you might do is in the morning, do a pain download. And I know this may sound counterintuitive, or this may sound like this would not be a really healthy exercise, but it really is. Do a pain download. Like, where am I experiencing pain in my business? Where am I experiencing pain in my life? And what is that emotion, right? What is it? Is that pain? Like, I'm moving away from the pain of fear. I'm moving away from the pain of anger. I'm moving away from the pain of doubt. Whatever it is that you're moving away from, and you'll probably recognize that this happens more and more and more than you ever thought it did. But once you do that pain download, you can look and see, like, what's really the root cause of this, right? Because for me, fear causes a little bit of anxiety, or if my anxiety is super high, it could cause a little bit of fear. You have to figure out the order in which these painful emotions or feelings are appearing and what really is kind of the root cause of it. So for me, in this circumstance, as of late, it was fear, and it was driving other emotions, anger, anxiety. It was really the driver. And until I got to the root of that fear, the other negatives were floating around. And so I sat with it for 48 hours. I would not say, hey, waller in the pain forever or for a week or a month. I would say allow the pain to exist and allow yourself to draw from it for at least 48 hours. If you want to just do 24, do 24. But here's what I don't want you to do. Oh, I'm feeling pain, and the pain is showing up as anger. Well, I know if I change my thought, it will change the feeling I have or the emotion I'm experiencing. So I'm just going to go and change my thought. I want you to process the pain. I want you to process the negative emotion and allow it to work for you. So realtors, this is where we can be, I talked on the last episode, I talked about a little bit about resistance. And I think resistance and pain sometimes can be married together. But what are we avoiding for fear of a painful experience? What are we avoiding? So some of the things I have heard is, when I call my database, I feel like I'm bothering them. Or what if somebody moved without me? That's painful when you discover that. But if I just ignored that pain and just went about my way to reframe it, I would miss the lessons buried in the pain. So in that example, let's just say you were an agent who stepped into treating your database as your most valuable resource. That's a really good thing. And you were calling through your database, making your contacts, and you found out that somebody moved without you. And that is painful. And so when we as humans want to move away from pain towards pleasure, that type of situation typically drives the agent to stop doing the activity, because what if I find it again? And now I know, and I feel terrible because that was a big sale that I missed out on, and it's very painful. And so we move away from pain towards pleasure. So what I see happen is, and you know what? I'm just going to go back to the way it was with my database. It was okay. I'm getting some business from my database, and I just don't need to know about people that maybe have done something without me, because that is too painful for me to bear. And I want you to just think about that scenario. Your database, for example, is your biggest source of business. And if we allow the pain to push us towards pleasure, in this case, not calling database feels pleasurable because I'm avoiding the pain of discovery. I'm avoiding the pain of rejection. I'm avoiding the pain of they don't like me anymore. That move towards pleasure is costing you so much money. I don't care if it's database. I don't care if it's doing an open house. I don't care if it's your other sources of lead generation. If we have an experience with it that causes pain, our reaction is to stop doing it and to go back to how we were doing it prior, because how we were doing it prior wasn't causing us any pain. At least that's the thought. But if you really sit with it, with the pain, and you look at if I do a move away from to a move to pleasure without dealing with this, I'm actually costing myself money. That the way I was doing it might have been okay, yet the reality of it is it's costing me income. It's costing me revenue. It's costing me market share. It's costing me hitting my goal. It's costing me my future self. That's the importance of processing the pain that goes along with doing things. So that's typically when we experience pain. I did something, it didn't work, it made me feel this way, which created pain. So I'm not ever going to do that again. I'm just going to go back to what was comfortable and be okay. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be okay. I want to be great. I want to be happy. I want to be moving towards those goals that I set for myself, my company, all of the people that I get to impact when I achieve my goal. I don't want to just be okay. I think that as entrepreneurs, that's a dangerous place for us to go. I'm okay. That to me is very complacent. That to me is somebody who is afraid of taking risk to avoid pain. So I'm just going to invite you to think about it a little bit differently. Think about the beach ball. Think about the last time you experienced pain and you moved away from it, and how many times that pain keeps coming back up. And it may come up in a different format. So it may not be calling my database. It may be the pain of fear might come up from losing a listing appointment, right? It could come up from a lot of different places, but that pain piece needs to be dealt with. So take a moment in the mornings, write out, do a pain dump. Okay, I know we've talked about doing a thought dump before, which is so incredibly healthy. This is doing a pain dump. What am I avoiding? What pain is out there? What might I be not wanting to address, and going back to what it was just to be okay? And again, find really kind of the root cause. Is it fear causing anxiety? Is it anxiety causing fear? What is the pain, the primary pain? And work through it. Name it. Spend some time in your journal with it. Allow yourself to feel it and process it. Sometimes we want to numb it. We want to numb the pain with unhealthy activities. Could be eating, could be drinking, could be not so stellar choices, could be an addiction to drugs, sex, porn, could be a lot of things. So there are times when we don't want to allow the emotion or the pain to process, we want to shut that feeling off and we go distract ourselves with doing something else. It could be just as simply as going onto social media for hours to numb and to move away from the pain. I really want you to get this concept. If I wanted to avoid pain and I chose to go on social media and start reading mindless posts and watching little dog videos and watching what friends are doing, that's an avoidance tactic. When social media is not on my calendar for that moment and I chose to go down a bunny trail for 2 hours. Pain's a real deal, team, but it is such a great source of lessons and learning. So pain is good. It really is. It may suck in the moment. It may feel really overwhelming in the moment, but I promise you, if you allow yourself to let it process and you extract the lessons, that pain will go away. And it won't be because you avoided it. It will because you processed it, and you'll feel that pain less and less and less. It's just like negative thoughts. We work on those over and over and over. We tend to have less of them. We work on our pain and we experience that and we work through it. We're going to have less and less and less of those moments. So one of the things that I'm going to leave you with is that pain is not a bad thing. We're going to learn from it and we're going to embrace it and thank it. I know that's really weird, but since I've become really aware of this, and I've been aware of it for a while, I also am realizing the tremendous value that I'm getting from it. So I thank it. I thank it because without it, I couldn't coach to someone who's experiencing pain. I would just coach them out of it quickly. Without it, I couldn't take the steps forward in my business. So spend some time and thank the pain. Don't move away from without processing it first. So if you're experiencing this and it's the first time you've really thought about it, it can be a bit of a kick in the rear end, and that's good. That's really good. That's really what I'm here to do as a coach, is to shine a light on your blind spots, because once we shine a light on our blind spot, we can do something about it. It's a blind spot for a reason. And this is when you need a coach to come in and help you identify those blind spots. So this is one of them. This is one of them that people do not see. It's in their blind zone. They don't see it. Quite honestly, I think unconsciously they do, but consciously they're avoiding it. But this is where a coach can really help you out. So if you're struggling and you want some help, number one, you can always reach out to me for a complimentary 1-hour strategy call. We'll have a conversation. We'll work through whatever it is you need. If you choose to move forward into a partnership with us, we've got great one-on-one coaching programs. We have great group coaching programs that can meet you where you are. Some people might be ready to move into a one-on-one coaching partnership. Some people may not be. Some people may be financially ready. Some people may not be. It doesn't matter. We will meet you where you are. There's a program for you. So I really want to stress the importance of having somebody on your side, like a coach, that can help you identify the biggest opportunities that are right in front of your face. Reach out to me if you need anything. Tony@rethinkcoaching.com is my email. You can find me on social media and direct message me. You can Google me and find my cell phone, 214-914-2823, and reach out to me anytime if you need some help. I'm always here to help you. Go crush it and make it a great week. Go experience some pain. I would love to hear from some of you about what it did for you and how it impacted you. Have a great week. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.